What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. We just recently found out that we are getting some Val Monica support, and it basically makes it so that like half of your deck is a one-card setup for your pendulum scales, which is pretty important in the deck. It kind of lives or dies by the pendulum scales both being up on the field. We've got a non-pendulum Val Monica monster, Celetrice, however you would say that. We've got a quick play spell, which is unbelievable. It's a free special summon or just a free setup of the pendulum scales if you control a non-pendulum Val Monica, so just the main deck or any of the links. And then we have another addition to the normal spells, Disharmonia, which can give you a resonance counter, just cheats out a resonance counter, and then it also can recycle your banished or graveyarded Val Monica cards. So really all three of these I think are big wins for the deck. Now I've been playing around with two different ways to build this, so this is the much cheaper way for certain. It's just going to play your Clownblade engine, the Jurigatos, you know, all that good stuff. Triple Upstart. I think this is probably the reason they gave us the 3 Upstarts back, is because they're trying to do a little something to sell you on this set. Phantom Nightmare is looking insane, by the way. Ashen looks so sick. But I would have to think that the more competitive version of this is going to be with the Synchrons in it, and I'll probably cover that in a separate video because I think it's different enough to require a more thorough explanation. This version is just way simpler to play too. So your normal summon with the Celetrice can search you a Val Monica card, and then if it goes to the graveyard while both your pendulum scales are up, it can just add itself back to the hand. Those are both once per turn, but it's pretty consistent to be able to hit that every turn, and the card you search can just put your scales up, so it just recycles itself immediately. For each of the pendulums, as a quick reminder, the Angel gains a resonance counter anytime you activate an effect that gains you life points. The Demon does the opposite. Whenever you lose life points, it gets a resonance counter. The Angel allows you to link someone on your opponent's turn, which is important because these have effects that activate on your opponent's turn. This has a big board wipe effect. The Demon reduces attack based on how many resonance counters you have on your side of the field, so it makes your board way bigger. And then they both can cheat out the other copy of themselves in the pendulum zone by discarding a different card you have in your hand. That's what makes the Clownblade stuff any good in the deck, is a lot of this pluses off of discarding, and then they just put the opposite copy of themselves in the pendulum zone. And lastly, when they're on the field as a monster, they can copy an effect of a Val Monica spell in the graveyard. The Angel copies the life point gain effect, the Demon copies the life point loss effect, and then banishes that card. For your Clownblade stuff, triple damage Juggler, 1 Trick Clown, 1 Flame Eater. It's just free and easy damage to yourself to get some counters going. Juggler and Trick Clown are both pretty good discards for these effects to activate. We got the triple Jurigato. I think this is probably the most cuttable card here, so even if you wanted to play this cheaper version of the deck and you wanted to fit some hand traps in there, the Jurigato I just like because it's kind of an older card, it's an anime card. It gives you that 1,000 point life point boost, so even if you didn't have your 3 resonance counters on your Angel to make your board wipe monster, you would be able to Jurigato and do that during battle phase, so it fits into the deck nicely, but I also don't think it's super necessary, especially with this new support. It's pretty easy to get your 3 counters on there now. And then the 1 Zephyros, the 1 Heroic Challenger, 1,000 Blades. Both really good recursion cards out of the graveyard. The Zephyros is probably a little better because it burns you and then summons itself, so you get that counter. For the normal spells, I've got 1 Intonaire. For a gain, it lets your opponent pick a monster out of your graveyard and special summon it. For a loss, it lets you take a level 4 lower monster out of your graveyard and add it back to your hand. It's just a little bit situational. It's not as good as the other ones that I got at 3s. We've got triple Skelta. You can, for a gain, put a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck and draw 2. For a loss, just add a Val Monica spell or trap from your deck to your hand. We've got triple Versera. I think this could potentially go to 1 or 2. For a gain, it can excavate until you hit a Val Monica card from your deck and add it to your hand. And for a loss, it's a Foolish Burial for a Val Monica card. It's decent, but you have a direct search here for a spell or trap. You have a direct search for your pendulums here and a free special summon for the monsters. And you have a direct search for any Val Monica card here, so I think that the chance on the excavation is a little bit less good now that we have those cards, and so I can see this being cut down to make room for, once again, probably some hand traps if you're trying to play this competitively. For the Disharmonia, I chose to play it at 1. The reason is similar to this other card I have at 1, the Intonaire, because you need some graveyard or banish zone setup to get full value out of it. The thing that is a saving grace for it is it just places a resonance counter on whatever pendulum monster you want, so even if it's going to be like the life point gain effect to put 1 on here and you only have 2 here, you could bump this up to 2. You could double up on 1 or the other. You know, it's got some use there. I just don't like drawing the card early and then not having anything in the graveyard to use it on, because then you're essentially just adding 2 resonance counters. That's the effect. So I think at 1 it's good. It's an easy search and an easy way to like fill the graveyard up a little bit. in order to make use of some of these other effects that like copy stuff out of the graveyard or what have you. We've got 3 Voice, the field spell. When you activate it, it searches a Val Monica card. And then while it's on the field, if you were to bump yourself up to a 3rd resonance counter, you could steal an opponent's monster. That doesn't come up as often, but it can come up, especially now that you have ways of like cheating out resonance counters and really going hard on getting spell effects to go off that manipulate life points. So that's probably a better effect now with all the new support. And then the quick play, just absolutely disgusting. Special summon a Val Monica monster from your deck. It locks you out of using monster effects outside of Val Monica monsters, but a lot of your effects activate in the graveyard anyway. Most of the time you're just throwing bodies on board to make your extra deck monsters, and a lot of your extra deck monsters interact on your opponent's turn, so that doesn't really hinder the deck as much as you might think. It's also searchable off of Skelta and Celatrice, so really easy to get to. We've got the 1 Terraforming. It's just an extension of the Voice, just an additional search. The 1 Foolish, because we're playing all the Clown Blade stuff, so you usually can plus off of it. The triple Upstart, because it's a 37 card deck. The life point gain is also valuable for generating the counters. And the Seabex can start doing some stuff there if you make it early, but just make sure you're making this on a turn you didn't use this to special summon, because then you don't get that effect and it becomes way less good. And then 1 of each trap. They're both very good, but they're copyable with the Zeb, and so there's no reason to play 2. Once it's in the graveyard, you just put the Zeb out on the field and then you just keep using them every turn. In the extra deck, we've got with the 1 Typhon, just excellent card, probably the only really expensive card in the set. I suppose Access Code is too, but it's getting that reprint suit in the new Rarity Collection 2 in a few months, so that's going to be a lot cheaper. The 1 Baguska, we play a ton of level 4s, just lock your opponent down if you need to. The 1 Tornado Dragon, because there's really not a whole lot of back row destruction at all other than the trap. This one on the life point gain, it does the back row pop, so I just felt like this was necessary. The 1 Dweller just is a little floodgate. The 1 Beyond to get that search. The 1 IP to set you up for your interaction on your opponent's turn to make the Nightmare Unicorn. The 1 Seabeck Sorcerer, this thing can do some interesting stuff with the deck. If either player gains life points, you can make each player lose 1,000 life points, so you would pretty much be doubling up on your tokens there. You're going to bump yourself by 500, and then you're going to burn yourself by 1,000 and burn them by 1,000, and so you get the 1 resonance counter on each pendulum monster. And then if it's pointing to a monster that does battle damage, you gain life points equal to that damage, so you get another resonance counter. We've got the 1 Celine. There's an in-archetype spellcaster now, so it gives you a really easy setup to go into your 2 4s here. I got the Appaloosa and the Access Code. They're just both really, really good cards. And this will be really easy to get the spell counters on, because you're going to cycle through a ton of spells getting your board set up. We've got the 1 Azalea. This too is similar to the Celine. You'll get enough spells in your graveyard to be able to summon it, get your pop, and then use its secondary effect to banish a spell and destroy something that it battles. You're also playing mostly light and darks here in this version of the deck, and so it'll be easy to meet that summoning requirement. You could also probably consider this another like Nightmare Unicorn like replacement for the SP that I got down here in the very expensive version of the deck that we'll talk about another day. It does a kind of similar thing, obviously not quite as good, otherwise this would be $100, and I think it's only like 10, so there it is. And then the in-archetype links, 2 of the Zeb and 1 of the Duraloom. The Duraloom has the triple attack and the board wipe based on however many resonance counters you have, which is going to be at least 3 to summon it. So this is kind of a closer card, blow out a field, 7,500 damage straight to the face. The Zeb copies your spells and traps out of the graveyard during your opponent's damage. This one copies your Val Monica spell or traps out of the graveyard during your opponent's turn, and it does it as a quick effect, so it can copy any of these if there's a search or something that you need. More often than not, it's going to be your traps, and the traps both have a condition where if you control a Val Monica Link monster, you get both of their effects, so you would get 2 resonance counters and 2 effects out of the deal. So huge pluses there if you end up going with that. And that wraps up the list. Let's go over some of the stuff the deck can do now with just like 1 or 2 cards to get you rolling. So for the first one, we're pretty obvious here. We got just the Celatrice plus anything you can discard. I grabbed something that you can't plus off of, but a good majority of the deck as a discard can still be a big plus. So that is something to keep in mind. We're not going to get as much as you could get out of this. We're going to grab that quick play spell. It's just probably going to be the best starter. So second option to take 2 Val Monicas. 1 goes to your hand, 1 goes to your extra deck. I think I kept saying they both go to your pendulum zone earlier. That's not correct. I don't know why I kept saying that. Whichever one you grab doesn't really matter in this instance because we just have the Upstart Goblin. The reason it would matter is if this was one of the Val Monica spells and there was an effect you particularly wanted to copy, we're just going to send the one that can copy that effect, meaning The plus effect can be copied by the angel, the minus effect can be copied by the demon. And so if this had like the draw 2 effect and we wanted that, we're going to add this one to the hand and this one to the extra deck, at which point you would be able to use your demon to discard 1 and then set the extra copy of the angel from the deck, and you would have your pendulum summon here. And right here you'd be able to copy the graveyard effect for the plus, and in reverse, if you put the demon there, you would copy the minus. This also can set you up for an extra deck play, so whatever you happen to play, this can get you a search for an additional pendulum monster. And remember, because we have our scales, we can also get the add back from the Celatrice, and we'll do that as well just to finish this up here. And then your search can be whatever. We use our normal summon and our pendulum summon already, so we can't use these. You're just searching follow-up. You're also shutting down the effects of your pendulum zones with this card, so you don't want to summon it before you have all of your spells to play, because then you just aren't getting the resonance counters off of that. So it's something to worry about there. But you could also just make this like a Seebex or something, depending on what else is in that opening hand. And just to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, if this secondary card that you have is something that we can plus off of, it can change your board. So we'll use the Celatrice. We're just going to set up the exact same board here. We'll get the quick play, add that to our hand. We're going to have to pitch the Skelta, and then I want to copy the second effect that allows you to search a spell or trap. And so we're going to do that by making sure that the demon is the one in the extra deck and the angel is the one in our hand. We'll use that angel effect to put itself and a demon from the deck on the board. We'll pitch the Skelta to do so. So we got our 2. We're going to get our special summon. So now once we use that demon effect, we can copy the Skelta. We're going to search 1. So now you can set up like IPSP here with this. We'll just show you that. But basically the rest of your hand is going to determine what that search is. But we can special summon here for the IP. In this instance, we're not going to use that effect because we need a monster in the graveyard for Into Nair to work. So we'll go Into Nair. You have to pick 1 to special summon. I only have the 1, and now you're set up to SP on your opponent's turn off of 2 cards essentially. So it does a lot to have plus cards in your hand to discard. And then a lot of this deck is not going to be based on like a combo line. It's going to be just understanding how the scales get set up and then funneling through your spells as well as you can in order to get everything else set up. So we'll run through a test hand here to see what we got. Let's start with getting our scales set up. We'll ditch the trap, and then the Zeb will be live at that point. This is the better trap too. It's got the pop and the bounce. We also have our search off of our voice, and we have that normal summon now in the deck with Celatrice. We're going to use the normal summon, and this will search any Val Monica card. So we kind of have our pick of the litter here of what we're trying to do. So we have the Mill or the Foolish Burial. Neither of those are going to be excellent. We could get the Skelta for the draw or the direct search, or we could get the quick play for the special summon, but then it locks us into our Val Monica effects, and we have this Foolish Burial, so we don't really want to not be able to resolve like a Trick Clown or something here. And we are also sitting at 0 resonance counters, so we probably want to try to be a little bit redundant on what we're doing just to get some counters on the board. So we're going to go with the Skelta, and we're going to use the Skelta's second effect to search a spell. So we'll pay the 500, get a search. And because we have this trap in the graveyard already, setting up the Zeb special summon on the opponent's turn is probably going to be more of a priority than setting up the Duralume. I think we will grab the quick play, and we'll just save it till after we use this Foolish Burial to get some plus off of this. So we'll Foolish Burial, and we are already at 1, so we're going to dump the Trick Clown to get us to 2. Trick Clown's effect will activate, give us another level 4 body, as well as a second counter on our demon. And I think I am going to go into the Seebex here because I'm going to use this Mill effect for the search, and so I want to get the burn off of that as well. The Celatrice we can add back to the hand. We already have another monster engraved, so if you were going to grab like the other Val Monica spell that gets you the special summon, you still have the monster available. So I think we're fine with adding that back for follow-up. We'll activate this. We're going to use the plus effect to get the Mill. We're going to get an angel right away, but that will trigger the Seebex, so it'll burn us each anyway. So we're now up to 3 resonance counters right there, and we're up to 1 on this one, and we still have a special summon here, and we still have a pendulum summon here, so still can get after it a little bit. I think we're going to pendulum summon first. There might be some extra deck play worth getting into. Well, who knows? We'll figure it out in a second here. We can copy an effect, but it's going to matter what do we got for spells. So basically what I'm thinking about here is I want to try to go Selene into like an Appaloosa or Access Code, or maybe just set up the IP or something like that. So if I wanted Selene, I need the 3 spells in the graveyard, and it can't be this one because it would have to be the special summon. It would shut off the Selene effect. I think we're going to copy this effect to get an additional search, and more importantly, an additional resonance counter. So we'll hold off on that still, see what we get out of this. Another one. That is worst case scenario right there, but all right. All right, so I think the best way we can finish this off is to put the IP on board, and then we're going to use this to put the Angel on board, copy another effect. We have that Skeleton in the graveyard, so we'll be able to copy the spell search. It'll get us another counter, so now your opponent's monsters are going to be taking a huge hit. You're up to 6 at the moment, so 600 attack off of everything. And we'll get another search for a spell. I think we're going to go for the Disharmonia here. So this is a great point to search this, and we can either add a banished one back, which would be the Skelta or the Versaire, or we can add one from the graveyard back, which would be the Quick Play. So now here I could recycle either one. If I wanted the Skelta to have follow-up, I guess you could do that. I think we're going to grab the Quick Play and stick it in the back row for our opponent's turn, and I think that's actually a pretty nice board to end on. So what you have here is these both have the counters necessary to summon their respective extra deck monster. So you have a Quick Play board wipe during battle phase. You have a Quick Play special summon, which can then Quick Play use this trap card here, which can pop a spell or trap and bounce a monster. You also would be able to do IP into Nightmare Unicorn, SP, Azalea, something like that. So you have that removal, and you have the additional body to do all of it. You don't have to choose. So you'd have the third body if you summon like a demon or whatever from your deck, angel from your deck. Actually, I think my angels are expended here, but there's a demon in the deck still. Summon that. You would then have, 2 for the SP or whatever extra deck special summon there. You'd have a monster and a monster for each of your pendulums into your links. So I would say that is a very nice opening hand right there. So as mentioned, I'll put a different video together to talk about the synchro stuff because it is a fairly different deck. If you have any other extra deck techs in particular that you think are clever, let me know down below. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with this extra deck, and I'm probably just missing something somewhere, so I'd be more than happy to hear you out on whatever you're thinking about there. But happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.